Talk on WMNF 88.5 with Ahmed and Samar. We're live on the radio, but you could also catch us on our podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast on your different platforms or on WMNF.org, and go to the archives there. Samar and I today will be speaking about the terrorist attack that took place in Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, and the role of the Muslim hero that saved so many Jewish lives, and how people are politicizing it around the world, especially in Israel, politicizing the events there for a different agenda. But we'll also be speaking about here at home and politics domestically, and if we have time, we'll also be taking your phone call. This is True Talk on WMNF. We'll be right back after this short music break.
ميل على بلدي لتشوف كيف البحر بيضحك لك شم تراب بلادي وترسم عحجار ومجدك.
ميل على بلدي لتشوف كيف البحر بيضحك لك شم تراب بلادي ترسم عحجار ومجدك.
ميل على شاطئ حيف خدلك من رمل وتذكار صورة بشوارع يافا وعلى صورة العكا مشوار.
ميل على شاطئ حيف خدلك من رمل وتذكار صورة بشوارع يافا على صورة العكا مشوار.
ميل على بلدي لتشوف كيف البحر بيضحك لك. شوارعها وسماها أجمل مكان. ميل عنا وسال عنا احنا للكرم عنوان.
وإذا بدك تتهنى الناصرة بتبعت سلام قاعدة بتحلى 100 قلب بوجودك حلو الكلام.
ميل على وادي عار ركوة القهوة عالنار شرفنا حارة حارة قلوبنا لعيونك دار.
ميل وركوية القهوة عالنار شرفنا حارة حارة قلوبنا لعيونك دار.
ميل على بلدي لتشوف كيف البحر.
Welcome back to True Talk on WMNF 80.5 with Ahmed and Samar. ميل على بلدي, lean on my, or pass by my country or my home. How does it make you feel when you listen to this song?
I love it, Ahmed, especially if one can see it on YouTube and see the images, because it shows parts of Jerusalem, Nazareth, and Nablus, and the beautiful cities and areas of Palestine. So beautiful song, and it says ميل على بلدي, pass by this place and this place and have a cup of coffee, Arabic coffee.
Yeah, and this is a Palestinian. These are Palestinians singing it.
Yeah, two right? Palestinians from Palestine. They live there.
These are not the normal images we see about Palestine. Oftentimes, Palestine, when we see in the media, is war-torn, desert, genocide. You don't see these other parts. I mean, do you think that's by design? It's like Americans don't really get sure, there's an occupation, but there are also a lot of beautiful places that are Palestinian, very historic, but it seems like almost by design that the media doesn't want to show that there's actual, communities and living there.
I'll give you an example, Ahmed, of a non-controversial a country where there is, let's say, no war, no genocide, no Arab-Israeli conflict. Okay, I was teaching a class at USF, the Honors College, and the students, every 3, 4 students were required to pick a country in the Arab world and do a presentation on. So 3 or 4 students did a presentation on Bahrain, a very small kingdom in the Gulf region. So they were showing, for instance, the natural resources, the political system, the king of the country, and then statistics important to understand the country. And then they showed the Corniche, or the main road overlooking the Gulf. So it's water and very nice streets and some cafes, but mainly very, very nice pedestrian road. Like, the one in Tampa by the bay. What is it called? The nice road on the water in Tampa, very close.
Riverfront, like so
Yeah.
riverfront.
No. There is a road where you have very fancy
Oh, Bayshore.
Bayshore. It looks exactly like Bayshore minus the houses. So anyways, after these students finished their 12 minutes presentation, guess what was the shocking part of this whole presentation?
What is that?
We're talking honors students, okay? Leaders of the future, that there was water, that there is blue water, that there is literally water. Said, this is called Gulf countries. They are called Gulf countries because they overlook the Gulf, and the Gulf is full of water, and water in the Gulf is blue, and the waves are white. That was the most shocking part for them. Why? Because they only see images of either desert or destruction or just no water. To me, it was the most learning moment. So you can imagine now what the media show and do not show when it comes to the Palestinians or the Arabs in general, or the Arab countries, or for instance, Egypt and the Nile. They only show you the pyramids and camels. But if they just zoom out, they can see oases, they can see culture, beauty, old markets, crafts, normal people, just normal people. So that was the shocking part of the presentation. Not the fact that, for instance, how much resources they have or lack of resources, nothing, zero. That there is water and it's blue, which was shocking, that water can be blue. See, water.
I mean, it's a lot of times, simple things like that people don't realize.
It's omission. Sometimes the bias is by omission, Ahmed, by not showing. And I don't know if you have seen the movie Aladdin, the cartoon.
Aladdin, the cartoon, or the
The
remake?
the cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, years ago.
Yeah, I wrote a whole chapter in my book, my Arabic book, about just Aladdin and how it can form these stereotypes in the minds of Americans. Because actually, the opening of the movie, where this guy is roaming the desert and singing, he says, "Hey, I cut off heads." Because I am an Arab, something to that effect. And then ADC went and talked to the producers, and they said it's too late, it's too expensive to change this introduction. And so when it went and was shown in theaters all over the world, that part of the song was there, except when they agreed, the producers, to change it when the release of CDs and DVDs. At the time there was something called DVD, and so they removed it. Now, if you watch the movie, and I ask people really to go and watch it, any Arab, and of course it's in Iraq, no one mentions Iraq, and that Aladdin, the hero, is Iraqi. Everybody has like bad features or aggressive features or ugly. No one is beautiful. And then in the middle of the desert, you have these dancing belly dancers, which you don't understand why there are belly dancers in the middle of the desert. And the villain has no mercy and wants to cut people's hands and cut people's heads. And this is a movie for a baby, for young kids, not for adults. And then it was always camels and desert. So when I start my classes, Ahmed, I used to teach also at in Sarasota and in Fort Myers. So, anyways, I always ask the students to say anything about the Arab world. Every single time in the 15 years I taught these classes, they would say, I would put positive and negative. In negative, they would put desert and camel. And I would ask them why a desert is negative. Why a camel is negative? They don't know. They don't know where it's coming from. But it's the way our media and our movies portray the Arab world, or omit from the Arab world that there are mountains and snow and beautiful areas, and that God created the desert as much as God created valleys and rivers, and God created the most suitable animal to be utilized in a desert. So I would say, horses would not make it very well as much as the camels. So I think a mission sometimes, Ahmed.
Yes, that's true. A lot of things have been happening in the news this last week, as you and I'm sure, because our show's weekly, so we don't bring you breaking news, but we do a deeper dive in some of the headlines and some of the major events that took place. And while, our show focuses on, global affairs, international foreign policy, specifically focused on the Middle East and the Muslim world with the United States. Samar and I are both American. We're both Arab Americans. We also happen to be Muslim. Through our history in our show, we're always concerned about the growing rift and violence and war between the United States and the Muslim world, because it's not good for America. We are American. We want what's best for America. And we don't believe that, endless wars in the Middle East is good for America. Like Summer and I also, at least for, I don't want to speak for her, but we've known each other so long that I know what she agrees on and what we don't agree on. We don't agree on everything, but we both agree on that the occupation in Palestine of Palestine is wrong. It's illegal. It's against international law. The apartheid state system that they have there is also wrong. And it's not only bad for Palestinians, it's also bad for Americans and bad for America. Why? Because our tax dollars is what's funding the ongoing apartheid system, the occupation, and the genocide that took place in Gaza. This is harmful to American interest in the long run, and even in the short run. Public opinion against the United States is so much worse just because the United States continues to provide endless support and finances and weapons for Israel to do what it's doing. And it doesn't make sense. It's actually harmful to our interest in the area. But from time to time, things that even happen outside that region have an impact on the United States and policies in the Middle East. And, the most recent was this attack that took place in Australia, in Sydney, at a popular beach, Bondi Beach. Now, it's winter here. It's actually summer in Australia because they're on the other side of the, world or hemisphere, or not hemisphere, on the other side of, I guess, the globe. So it's summer there right now, and people are celebrating summer. So even though Hanukkah and Christmas in this part of the world are in the winter, they're actually in the summer in places like Australia, and there was a celebration there of Hanukkah that was taking place, and two individuals, a father and son that seemed to be of Indian background but are Australian citizens, started firing in this horrific attack on
Indian
civilians on the beach. Yeah, so, and no one can defend what they did. It's obviously a terrorist attack. It's obviously a crime. And however, in that whole situation, one man emerged as somebody that was caught on tape. This heroic person that jumped in without any weapons and tackled one of the gunmen, risking his own lives, and in fact got shot 2 or 3 times. And it turns out, right away, it wasn't clear who he was. Within minutes, Benjamin Netanyahu goes, in a speech, and that was already planned, and he announced that the man was Jewish, and it caused all this confusion. But then it came out later that the man's name is Ahmed. And despite his name being actually, similar to my name, it's actually, his first and last name are the same, Ahmed, which is my first name. It was still ambiguous somehow that, is he Muslim? Is he not Muslim? The media, what was frustrating was that the media kept identifying, obviously, that the victims were Jewish, and even that the killers, it emerged that they were Muslim or Muslim background, and they identified him by their religion. But the hero, somehow, that, risked his life and saved so many lives, he was identified by his nationality as Australian, an Australian man. That's what the media kept repeating. Australian man named Ahmed al-Ahmed, even though the man mostly just speaks Arabic. And then people were like, could he be another religion? And people were, trying to just, I guess, not identify him as Muslim as much. And everybody knows. And then I guess the next day, and New York Times, Washington Post, and others continued to just identify him as an Australian. And then later they identified him as a refugee or as an immigrant. And then they identified him as a Syrian Australian. Missing from all of it that they kept avoiding was to actually label him as Muslim. So like you were saying, this omission has an impact. Now, for most people, they understand that Ahmed is a Muslim name, but, maybe it's not. So it leaves this kind of, confusion out there. Why is it important to mention it? Because you're mentioning that the victims are Jewish and the killers are Muslim, and somehow the hero, because that changes the narrative, because the whole narrative that a lot of people kept pushing online, look at these Muslim savages. Once again, that these Muslims are killing people. And right away, they put Islam on trial, this identity that somehow it's because of their Islam that they're inherently violent, and that's why they just want to kill people. When in reality, this completely shatters that narrative that a Muslim man jumps in, risking his life on, live footage or this video footage that's clearly captured, and even gets shot multiple times, almost dies, and saves Jewish lives. That shatters that stereotype, or not that stereotype, this narrative that somehow Muslims are inherently violent. No, in this situation, Muslims are the peaceful people, that they put their lives on the line to save others, even if it's people they may not agree with. So that was really something that's frustrating. Did you find it equally frustrating when you saw that?
Yes, Ahmed, because it's the instant that something like this happens, everybody is, of course, going to check the news, and immediately you will have thousands of bots and agents, I would call them, immediately saying, he's Christian, he's a Maronite, he's from Lebanon. And I'm thinking, Ahmed, from Ahad, from one God, like the root of Ahmed is somebody who kind of believes in one God, and that's, a typical Muslim name, Al-Ahmed. Okay, so if it was Sami, if it was Fadi,
there's a lot of names that could go both ways.
Yeah, so both ways, Sami, Fadi, Madi. Okay, but if it's Ali or Omar or Muhammad or Ahmed or
Ahmed. I mean, Omar. So there's some Hispanic people that name Omar, but Muhammad and Ahmed are clearly, very rare that you have an Ahmed or a Muhammad that's not Muslim. So yeah, that is true.
And then the other thing, going out of their way to prove he's Lebanese. I'm not sure why. And then a guy said, "This is my cousin. My cousin is from Syria, and my cousin is Muslim." Then they do interview with his mom and dad, and the mom
Yeah.
very clearly wearing hijab, and still saying he's a Maronite. Okay, Maronite women
So
maybe.
who was saying this Maronite? Because I didn't see it. Was that in Arab media or what?
No, on my tweet, people, people. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, I mean, there are people, but I was maybe specifically mention like the biggest media outlets, the BBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times. They would not attach the Muslim identity to him and focus on the, either his Syrian or Arab identity, because that could be, but or specifically Australian. Even the Prime Minister of Australia kept saying, "This is what Australians are." He showed the spirit of Australia. The guy just migrated there. He's from Syria. He's Muslim. Is he holding? Was it Australian beliefs and values that made him jump and save lives? Or is it his, his faith and his religion and his culture and his Arab and Syrian background that he lived with? He's a 50-year-old man that caused him to do this. I don't think he learned those values because he got the Australian passport.
And the funny thing, Ahmed, he was shot twice. And my sister said, "But who shot him? I saw him take away the rifle from the guy." I said, "Yeah, the guy is the father." And she said, "Who shot him?" I said, "Probably the son who was far away on like a small bridge." Turns out the police shot him because they assumed, "Oh, he looks Arab. Oh, let's shoot him."
Oh,
So
is it? I did not hear that part. Was it the police that shot him?
and that's why, for instance, like why this piece of information is missing, because it really means a lot. Now, the good thing, the positive thing is that, the timeline is saying he's Maronite, he's Christian, he's no Arab, he's this, he's that, the terrorism, Islam, cult, blah, blah, blah. Then, oh my gosh, like the hero, the heroism, and all of a sudden the timeline on X is all about this amazing guy. He's a vendor. When he went on the ground, he said, I have two kids. Please tell them I love them, because he thought he's gonna die. And all of a sudden, the whole narrative in Australia is positive. They forgot about the two terrorists who did this action, forgot about them and about their religion, and just were talking about Ahmed al-Ahmed and his heroism. And on the other side in America, very far away, people and pundits are talking now, Islam is a cult. We have to prevent the Muslims from coming to America. We have to ban Islam. Like, guys, look at the positive side. And then they started collecting money for him. And then this Bill Aikman, he says, look at the people who are giving him money, not a Muslim name. Like, guys.
Oh, he said that? I did not know that. One thing I just wanted to interrupt and say, I looked up what you said, that he was shot by police, and I didn't find that information.
Yes,
So,
I can.
if you can find it, as far as I know, he was shot by the other gunman. That's what I assumed and thought. But Bill Ackman early on, who's he's a billionaire in New York, and he was adamantly against Zoran Mamdani. Seems like he's against anyone that's really Muslim that's in the public eye. And it seems like it's the same individuals that keep popping up that, have a grudge or a hatred towards Muslims and Islam. And they Bill Ackman was on the side, was against the Palestinians that were doing the encampments and protesting the genocide. And he was putting pressure on these universities to get university, presidents fired because they're allowing these protests to happen. He was, again, against, pumping millions of dollars against Zoran Mamdani, the Muslim that was running for office in New York. Seems like wherever Muslims are, Bill Ackman is not far behind trying to do something against them, right up there with Netanyahu. Of course, he's a, close ally of Netanyahu. Now, this is something that's happening tens of thousands of miles away on the other side of the globe in Australia. And the Australian government saying stop meddling with our within Australian affairs. They're telling Netanyahu stay out of it. But right away, Netanyahu and others and his allies, whether they're the billionaires or the pundits or the media, are putting all this pressure on Australia and the Australian government saying, we told you so, we warned you. Netanyahu said, I sent a letter to the Prime Minister of Australia in August and giving him a deadline that, you need to, that his recognition, or that they were thinking about recognizing a Palestinian state, would lead to an increase in anti-Semitism and potential violence. And he was pointing that these people taking action, that these terrorists that shot Jewish people on the beach, it's because Australia and other Western countries are recognizing a Palestinian state. Does that even make sense? Why would, let's just say hypothetically that argument, that argument, let's follow it. If somebody that's really pro-Palestine and Australia decides, well, we're going to recognize a Palestinian state, like the UK and Spain and others, and, in theory, we want to recognize a Palestinian state. If somebody that's really supportive of Palestine, would they, in their mind, think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Obviously, they would think it's a good thing. It's not like, so if you're actually like an evil person that wants to hurt, why would you carry out an attack in Australia because they actually recognized a Palestinian state? So what these guys did in Australia at the beach, killing people, has nothing to do, one, with the Palestinian cause, and two, it has nothing to do with, Islam. In fact, Islam says that, this is clearly haram, clearly forbidden. It says if you kill a single life, if you kill a single person, if you take a single life, it's as if you've killed all humanity. And if you save a single life, it's as if you've saved all humanity. And that's what Ahmed did in acting, by saving lives. It's as if he saved all humanity, regardless of what their background is.
I stand corrected, Ahmed. I checked online. Yes, he was shot at Ahmed not by the police, but by the son, the attacker on the...
Yeah, the son, the scenario was, I guess the father, now when it was happening, people didn't know, the father was a little older. He actually walked down onto the park with the grass area, and was behind a tree, and his son was staying at a higher elevated area on like kind of a overpass bridge, and he was in a higher position, and apparently, he could see when his father was tackled, and he started shooting at Ahmed. Now, Ahmed in the video grabs the gun, the long gun, and points it at the older, shooter, and he doesn't shoot him. And then he kind of puts the gun away once the guy starts backing up. And, people started criticizing that. There's a lot of Zionists and Israeli figures that started saying, see, he's actually sympathizing. The fact that he didn't shoot him right away is he's sympathizing with the guy, and that's why he didn't shoot and kill him. This guy, Ahmed is just a, civilian. He's not a military person. He's not the police. He probably doesn't know, is he allowed to kill people? Maybe he's never even held a rifle before. So the fact that it would actually be weird if you just grabbed the gun and started shooting the guy, maybe he would think that would actually land him in some sort of trouble. But they were even using, I don't know if you heard that, as an excuse, saying, look, he actually sympathizes with the shooters, and that's why he didn't, kill them.
They don't kill their own, as if like he knows who these people are and what's going on. It took seconds. I mean, I don't know how he risked his life and jumped the guy. Oh gosh. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even Trump mentioned it and said, I saw a video, a man, but again, did not identify him by name. Mm-hmm. And he said a lot of great things about him, because obviously no one can deny the heroism and, heroic action that he took, risking his own lives. And supposedly he's told his relative before he did that, he said, I'm going to, do something. I'm probably I'm going to die, say, give, salam to my mother or something. He didn't think he was going to survive this. So.
So go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
Ahmed.
no, I'm done.
Okay, one of the weird things that happened. So I go immediately to X. So here is a tweet. In 2 weeks, that's a guy from supposedly a Democrat from New York. He describes himself another moderate Democrat boomer who has had it with the socialist radical left that is taking over the party and the journalists who are enabling them. Okay, that's the person. So now the shooting is happening, the first footage. And then he says, in 2 weeks, Zohran Mamdani starts his first real job, and his first responsibility will be to protect NYC from terrorism like this. Is Zohran up to that job after spending 2 years falsely accusing Jews of genocide? And he has the footage of the father and son shooting people. Now, what does this have to do with Zohran Mamdani, who's going to be a mayor, not the head of the police or not the head of the FBI in Washington? Like people are going out of their way to hit at anybody they can hit on. And then you have congressmen and women, Ahmed, saying Islam is a cult. It's not a religion. We should get rid of them.
Right. They took this, I mean, that's already been happening, but they took an opportunity after this attack to just, again, double down and repeat the same Islamophobic and anti-Muslim bigotry. But one thing that was a trend in a lot of these posts, before we get into what the politicians were saying, they were blaming two things, mainly, and that's how they were politicizing it, or three. One, there was this narrative that somehow these guys were acting on behalf of Iran, and that, Israel needs to go strike Iran again. That's one, ridiculous suggestion that was circulating. The other one was that they were using the specific phrase, globalize the intifada. And if anyone knows, the globalized intifada, dog whistle, is in reference to attacks on Zohran Mamdani, that kept getting repeated in ads and campaigns against him, trying to suggest that Zohran Mamdani used the phrase globalize the intifada, spread it everywhere. Intifada is the Arabic word for struggle or uprising, which, Palestinians did on a couple of occasions over time. And it's basically symbolizes to Palestinians that it's a uprising against the occupation and apartheid. To Zionists and Israelis, they see the word as somehow calling for the genocide of Jewish people. So this whole thing saying this is a result, what happened on Bondi Beach is a result of those, because of those that are calling for globalize the intifada, referencing basically about Zohran Mamdani. The other avenue that they kept repeating right away, within hours, if even less of the attack on X and on social media, they kept saying this is because of the Muslim Brotherhood, and this is because of Muslim Brotherhood organizations, and they were kept because Western countries are allowing Muslim Brotherhood people to infiltrate their societies. And this was not only done by Zionist groups and individuals. I also saw a huge campaign, an army of influencers coming out of the Gulf countries, UAE specifically, that were promoting this line, saying, what happened on Bondi Beach is a terrorist attack. We in the UAE, as Arabs and Muslims in the UAE, condemn it. But let me tell you that this is because Western countries keep allowing the Muslim Brotherhood to come in, and even pointed to they named specific Muslim organizations that are either fighting civil rights or providing charity relief, saying that, they need to be shut down. It was obviously they're all using the same talking points and pushing this narrative against the Muslim Brotherhood, against Iran, and against candidates like Zohran Mamdani with this type of dog whistle attacks. And that's what I noticed was happening. And it can't just be it seems really coordinated both by the Zionists as well as by these what would be called Arab Zionists.
True, Ahmed. It's so obvious when you see these trends, and there are people who study media and they study these apps and they can pinpoint it, but maybe because you and I follow it so much. But do you know what's the origin of the word intifada and how it started and who coined it?
No.
I was working at Jordan Television in the 1980s after I graduated from the American University in Cairo. So I was in the news, Arabic news, and we had Arabic, Hebrew, French, and English. So we start, we get the feed every day. Sometimes it's feed from international, what they call them, like the Associated Press, BBC. But there were feeds that go to TVs to give them just footage, okay, sometimes without any narration. Let's say the President Reagan at that time met somebody important. We just get the footage. So anyways, the TVs get these feeds twice a day. Part of the feed that we were getting were boys throwing stones in Israel, in the West Bank. First day, third day, fourth day. We don't know how to describe it and what to say. But we have a Hebrew news comes out of Jordan that is directed towards Israel. After a week of this phenomena, the Israeli, because Israel would also have a news show in Arabic, they said Al-Intifada. So Jordan TV started calling this phenomena Al-Intifada, and then the rest of the Arab world news services started to call it an Al-Intifada. So in the Arabic language, Al-Intifada is to shake off something. And it was the Israeli Arabic news service that called it Al-Intifada. And here is your 1 cent history.
Wow. So the Israelis called it Intifada?
Yeah. And we were waiting and waiting in Jordan, waiting.
So then what? Then the Palestinians then adopted it and said, okay, we'll also call it Intifada because they use that line.
Yeah. This is how, at least I can talk about what I witnessed as an editor in the Arabic news section.
You should write an article about it and explain where that came from so you could set the record straight, because that's the first time I've heard this this theory, which, I'm not doubting, but I'm saying I don't think many people know what you witnessed, I guess, because you were there as it happened.
Yes, I remember I even interviewed 3 or 4 ladies were MPs who came out of the occupied territories, and they were like the 4 of them were talking at the same time, and they didn't know how to say it, but kids throwing stones, they're tired of the occupation. This is peaceful, interesting, but I don't know. I mean, I can't. This is what happened in front of me, and this is how Jordan adopted the word. It did the Israeli service here. Did these kids say we are doing Intifada? I don't know. Maybe they just labeled it, and then it went viral as everything. But Ahmed, I want to read something and get your opinion on it, because it created so much discussion, and actually from other congressmen and women. And I never heard of this man, but he's obviously a coach. His name is Tommy Tuberville. Proud husband, dad, grandchild, and U.S. Senator for the great state of Alabama. Let me quote you, Ahmed. Islam is not a religion. It's a cult. Islamists aren't here to assimilate. They're here to conquer. Stop worrying about offending the pearl clutchers. We've got to send them home now, or we will become the United Caliphate of America. Now, dissect this. Where do you want to go with this? Because, I mean, other members of Congress are saying, what is this? I mean, we have 185 bases all over the world, if not more. We are the ones who keep conquering countries and have done wars and invasions, and we're just planning to invade Venezuela. So maybe the guy is like misguided. But what's the idea of calling Islam a cult? And like you said, Australia is at the end of the world. What happened is a terrorist act and shouldn't be condemned, and it's criminal. And we're not denying that or covering it up. But how can you kick me out of this country because of what a terrorist did in Australia? Like, how is this related to us here, ya Ahmed? And if you put this and add this to what the president keeps saying, that he is planning to strip Americans of their citizenship. I mean, this is now that seems it's talk, 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 but it could really happen. Maybe we all should have lawyers to talk to and see, like, is it possible? What do you think?
Well, I mean, basically, what this idea of calling Muslims a cult, it's not true. I mean, Islam is the second largest religion in the world. It's one of the fastest growing. That, it's either he doesn't understand what cult means, the definition of a cult, or, he's just getting his talking points to put out there that to drive this Islamophobia. There is this intense campaign. I don't know. And a lot of it just comes out of Israel, unfortunately. He went on, but the issue is that, this guy is a senator. He went on, the Senate floor, and he had a big banner that says "Shut down Sharia." So there's a bunch of things happening right now all over the country. And especially if you want to say post the Gaza genocide, but in reality, the genocide seems to just be going slower. It's still there. There are over 300 Palestinians have been killed since the ceasefire. Israel continues to bomb in Lebanon and other places. However, what happened in those couple of years since October 7th is now over 2 years, is the reputation and image of Israel has gone down so much, especially in the United States, and it's even impacted Israel's image among its base in America, conservative Christians, especially young people. And that's because of Israel's own doing. That's because of Netanyahu. Guess what? When you kill people, there's going to be consequences. Especially when you kill them in a genocide. Genocide has an impact, even if it's Palestinians, which, Netanyahu thought that people are not going to care about. But when you kill children, over 20,000 of them, and that's just a conservative number, and so many of them are disfigured, there's so many amputees, so many are disabled, even to the point that Tucker Carlson, one of the most, if not the most conservative, and the biggest conservative in America, he went and visited Palestinian children that have been orphaned and disabled and wounded, because of the genocide. And those images are going all over the country, in the United States, and it's impacting the base. So there's a huge push now, post this genocide, that Israel is trying to somehow win back support, especially within conservative Christian communities. We've talked about this before, about the geofencing that they're doing, which is basically pushing out social media ads to conservative Christians or churchgoers. And they do that by identifying who's going to specific churches and being able to push ads specifically to those kind of individuals to remind them that Israel is that they should be solidly behind Israel. But they're actually spending most of that money, instead of promoting Israel, by smearing and scaring people of Islam. They think, based on their surveys and reports, findings, research, that the more Americans that hate Muslims and Islam or fear them, the more they're going to support Israel, because they want to try to say, well, these hateful, evil Muslims, that Israel's on the front lines fighting them. And it's better that Israel fights them over there than all those Muslims coming here to kill Americans. That's kind of the indirect message. And, they keep pushing. So there's so many politicians now obsessed on a daily basis to push out this narrative and this propaganda that Muslims are evil, that Muslims are a cult, Islam is a cult, Islam is inherently violent, Islam and America are not compatible, that Muslims are not, they don't like democracy, that they have no place here, they should go back. And even going as far as going, after like different communities or enclaves in America, like the Somalis community in Minneapolis, where 40% of Somalis in America, which I think the Somalis in America are number maybe 200,000, 250,000 in a country of 300 million. Very insignificant number. However, a lot of them, 40% of them are in, Minneapolis. And then there are other pockets in, Maine and other cities, maybe Ohio. Guess what? These are people that were refugees. It's not some conspiracy. They want to live close to each other. There are other enclaves in America, like in Brooklyn. There are communities that are fully Hasidic Jews, Orthodox Jews. You can't even go in the neighborhood. Everything there, they want to live together. And guess what? America allows that. There are enclaves of Amish in America. America allows for that. It's not against the Constitution to live with like-minded people. It's not some sort of conspiracy, but they want to go after Islam because for the sake of Israel, nothing else. And they're pushing the Sharia scare all over, and they're trying to designate organizations. So this is not just happening in a vacuum. They are getting their marching orders from AIPAC and other groups that are trying to, change the narrative and try to win back support for Israel. And I think a lot of Americans are seeing through that. Unfortunately, people that may not have the background fall for these kind of tricks to try to blame Muslims for everything. And yeah, it's making Muslims less safe. It's making, Muslim communities frightened because there's just other Americans who happen to be Muslim. And in America, this is not a theocracy. You can be multiple religions, but they're trying to basically, because religion is in America and religious communities have constitutional protections, but they're trying to say that Islam is different. Islam is not a religion. Islam is a cult. Cults are bad. Islam is a political. Others will push this idea that, oh no, Islam is not a religion. It's a political movement. And they're trying to take over America. They're trying to force their Sharia laws on us. None of it is true. Muslims make up 1% of the population. You're trying to say the 3 million Muslims in America are going to somehow overpower the 99, the 1%, they're going to overpower everyone else? No, but they try to make it a lot worse than it is.
1/3 of them, Ahmed, are African Americans or converts.
Correct. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to do with them? And this is so they're going as far as saying that, people should be stripped of their citizenship if they don't share American values. Well, who defines what America is? What is America? America is a constitution. It's a contract between citizens. If you live by that contract, you're an American. America is not one color or one religion, one theocracy. America is definitely not. By their definition, to be an American is that you have to be basically subservient to Israel. In some, if you look at some of these things, that's what they're calling for. That in order to be a true American, you have to be 100% behind Israel. And these people are not American because they're not supporting Israel. Well, by that definition, even somebody like Tucker Carlson is not a true American. I mean, Muslim communities, we have cemeteries in America. Muslims have been in America since the beginning. There are Muslims that came on slave ships, and there are even Muslims that came with Christopher Columbus. Islam has been part of America and the fabric of America from the beginning. Sure, there are immigrants that bring in different cultures, different languages, other things. They also happen to be Muslim. But they came to America because America is meddling in their affairs. Iraqis came to America because America launched an invasion and created all this killed so many people, then they have to kind of own it. Somalis are here because America, again, meddled in the Somali affairs. There's, you can watch the movie Black Hawk Down and other writings about how America. So wherever American foreign policy has gone and meddled with things, guess what? There was a lot of Vietnamese in America. Why did they come here? Because America was involved in the Vietnam War. And after that, a lot of them came back to America because, they're on the side of the United States, or America was involved there. These things are happening for a reason. It's not just that they just showed up here out of nowhere.
Yeah, like with Syria and with the Tampa and Palestinians. Why are there so many Palestinians? Because they were put on airplanes after the first Gulf War. I talked to one of the people. He said that when Kuwait at that time started retaliating on some of the locals after the liberation of Kuwait, he said the American Jeep would be circling saying, if you feel unsafe, come to the airport at this time, only have your only your clothes and your documents. And this guy, Ahmed, took his family and went to the airport, and he said there were like military airplanes took them to some in the middle of nowhere, an island, and he said we were like tested for diseases, every single information about us, and then they took us to some base in Texas, and then they said, here is Tampa. Tampa is sunny and nice weather. And he said, we were about 500 families, and the U.S. brought them here. So now you want to blame them for bringing them here? It's like you said, and this is why we have a boom in Tampa of Arabic restaurants. But Ahmed, I wanted to get somebody to talk about this fascinating, it's not fascinating, but it is fascinating. The study done by a PR conglomerate, Stagwell Group. It did it, in the findings came out. It's called Israel Key Findings, July 2025. Apparently, the Israeli government went to this polling company and did studies across US, UK, Germany, France, and Spain. They tested what messages could make Western audiences rethink their views on Israel. The findings were damning. Most Europeans saw Israel as genocidal and apartheid, but the PR firms found a much easier way to shift that by weaponizing fear of Islam. Guys, listeners, go to the net, Google Stagwell Group, and Google Israel Key Findings, and you will be fascinated by the information out there.
Thank you for that input. And we're basically out of time. I just wanted to read a couple of messages that people sent in, and thank you for the support. If you want to email us off air, you can send to truetalk@wmnf.org. Glenn says that he loves the show and he hates Islamophobia and justice for all. Thank you, Glenn. And this is someone else who says, yes, you are correct. Australia is in the southern hemisphere. Okay. Therefore, it is summer. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. What else do I have? Okay.
Anything else?
Did they not prove that the attack was done because the father and son support the Islamic State? They said that, but again,
in the car. So you go.
Yeah, there was like a homemade flag in the car, which some people point out that may be suspicious because that's not necessarily enough. So they're still investigating. Somebody says what a lot of people are forgetting is that. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to read that comment because they're going to accuse us of, that's their comment, not mine. But anyway, you could email us more at DJ, or at truetalk@WMNF. We're out of time, Summer. And this is WMNF Tampa. The Scoop News is next. Stay tuned for some great programming. And Summer and I will be here, same time, same place at WMNF next Thursday. Every Thursday, 12 o'clock, right after the news. Have a great weekend, everyone.